Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte. Guys, we're taking a look today in the Metropolitan Division today as we continue our preseason rankings, not power rankings. That will be later this week. Our preseason power rankings this Friday at 5 p.m. Make sure to stay tuned for that. But today we're looking at the Metropolitan Division, what most people would argue as the toughest division in the NHL right now, and you're going to see that based off of these rankings I have, based off of where the teams will finish, who makes the playoffs, and why, how many points they have, and if they get into the postseason. We're going to be going over all of that. So, 8 teams in the Metro, really good competitive teams in the Metro. So who finishes where? And I think for the most part, I think at the top half, I think the top 2 teams and the bottom 2 teams, you will most likely agree with me. But between 6, 5, 4, and 3, there is a lot of separation between 4 teams in particular. Well, not much separation between 4 teams in particular. So we'll get to that. At number 8, I don't think most people would be surprised with this one. We're heading up to Ohio in Columbus. The Columbus Blue Jackets will finish last in the Metropolitan Division. They're in a rough route right now. They're in a tough spot in a really tough division. They're in that little bit of a rebuild, retool mode. They have a new head coach, so there may be some adjustments at the beginning of the season. They don't have the skill and the depth of some of these other teams. Yes, they bring back Zach Werenski. Great. Yes, they bring in Adam Bolkvist. Great. They keep Merzlikins and Korpisalo. Great. But you did lose Seth Jones. They made a questionable move, moving in Jakub Voracek for Cam Atkinson. Still trying to see how that's going to work out. That was definitely an interesting move. This is a situation where the Blue Jackets, we need to see more from some of the young guys, like Bolkvist, like Nudavara. Those guys on the blue line will have to step up this season. Yes, they keep Zach Werenski. That's huge. We're going to see, there is some questions about their center depth as well. Who are the centers for this team? Is it Alex Texier? Who else really is there? I mean, I know I like Sean Corrali, but he's not a top 6 center, right? So there is some questions about their center depth. Do they have a legit number 1 center? That's really what this comes down to. If you asked about, does every other team in this division have a number 1 center? You could say yes. The only team you can't say that for is the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's why they'll finish with 79 points at the bottom of the Metropolitan Division. That's it. Nice and cutthroat. Cut the head off clean. 79 points at the bottom. And that's not even bad. There are some teams that have less points. I see them around the category of the Calgary Flames and the Anaheim Ducks, which I already made that video. Make sure to check that out, Pacific Division rankings. So now we're moving up to number 7. We got the New Jersey Devils. Now, Jack Hughes just went on a couple interviews and said, we want to play meaningful games in the springtime. And I think the Devils will do that. I think they're going to make an argument to be, at the very least, up until maybe the last 2 weeks of the regular season, they will be in the race for a playoff spot. Now, obviously, it's 7 in the division. There's not much dispute. They don't make it to the playoffs this year, but I think there will be improvement. And I think they're going to do well this year. I like their goaltending. They got a couple of little outside distractions with Blackwood. But other than that, you have Nico Hischier. He's got to stay healthy, the captain. They need him in the room. Jack Hughes, he had a really impressive start to the season. Can he do it for a full season? He seems very confident, ready to go. PK Subban seems motivated. He's seeing some of the expectations being a little bit higher in New Jersey. He may be motivated by that. He hasn't had some outside distractions maybe bothering him over the past couple months this summer. Hopefully, right? Hopefully. I know he's had a relationship. So, yep. Probably better off for it, if I'm going to be honest, for Subban. At number 6, we got the Pittsburgh Penguins. Oh, and before I mention that, I got a little distracted there. The New Jersey Devils will finish with 84 points. So I know, Mike from New Jersey, you do comment on my videos a lot, especially the Devils videos. Let's go Devils. But they're going to just miss out. So a shout out to you, Mike. But 84 points for the Devils is my prediction. So let me know what you think of that, Mike, and the rest of the Devils fans out there. At number 6, again, this is where maybe there's a little bit of respect to the Devils, because at number 6, I have a team in Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh Penguins. At number 6, so just behind, or just in front of the New Jersey Devils, with 86 points. So there's that's a 1 win. 1-win gap between New Jersey and Pittsburgh for 6 and 7 in this division. And they both have 80 plus points. Again, that just shows you how deep and the amount of depth that this division has. And I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to see a downfall this season. I hate to be the Debbie Downer here for the Penguins. You're going to start the season without Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. And you're supposed to tell me with, not sure who the starting goalie is. Will Chris Letang be back next year? And Evgeny Malkin? All these outside distractions. You're really going to tell me Pittsburgh's going to be able to play a successful season this year? And it looks like Jake Gensel may be out to start the season. There is a lot of problems in Pittsburgh here, and I think this is the year that the Pittsburgh Penguins will finally fall off and miss the playoffs. The problem is, without Malkin and Crosby to start the season, we know without Crosby, Malkin is the first-line center, he's able to go on a tear. But the problem is, not even he is there. So now you've cut off both the heads of the two-headed monster in Pittsburgh in Malkin and Crosby. So who is left? Jeff Carter? Jeff Carter is going to be your first-line center? Let me know how that goes in this division. I don't see the Penguins getting into the playoffs. 86 points, which is still respectable. But again, you got some questions in between the pipes. Is it Jari or DeSmith or somebody else, right? Is it that guy I made a video about, that Philip, whatever his name was? Is he going to maybe take the role? No disrespect to him, but I forgot his name. With 86 points, I think that's impressive. But again, in this division, definitely not enough. Now at number 5, this is even more interesting because at number 5, with 93 points, I have the Washington Capitals at number 5. Now some of you may say, no way Washington will be at 5. Listen here, let me tell you something. That this is a team that did not, like Pittsburgh, didn't make many changes this season. Now, I think they're a lot better than Pittsburgh because they still have Ovechkin, at least in the lineup, where Crosby and Malkin aren't even in the lineup. They have a better goalie than Pittsburgh, but there is some questions about their depth. And I've seen some of these guys in Hershey. I like what they've got going, but I don't know if they're ready yet. Is Connor McMichael ready? Is Brian Pino ready? Alex Alexiev on the blue line. Are those guys ready to step in and play in the NHL? Lucas Johansson, a first-round pick, brother of Ryan Johansson. We've been waiting for him to develop for a long time. He just hasn't developed into a top-4 defenseman. They could really use him right now. And I think the Washington Capitals are a victim of their own success. They have Ilya Samsonov. They have a good goalie, but there is a lot of questions. Like I said, you got Vanecek and Samsonov. Great in between the pipes. But is this team going to be able to sustainably put it together? You got Oshie. You have the questions around Kuznetsov. Is there something in the locker room there? Brian McClellan has a rough situation ahead of him here in Washington. And I think he's just trying to, salvage the pieces he can and let the other pieces go. That's what they did with Brendan Dillon this summer. Again, I just don't see it for the Capitals this year. I think both Washington and Pittsburgh will miss the postseason in 2022. All right, so now we move up to number 4, and we're heading to the Big Apple in Manhattan at the New York Rangers. So the Blue Shirts have made some interesting improvements to the team, and I think a lot of them are internal improvements. They've let go of guys like Brendan Smith, who's now in Carolina, Tony DeAngelo, now in Carolina. They've let go of a lot of different players, and they're changing the blue line here on the fly. You're going to see Jacob Trouba come back, Keandre Miller come back. Expect a little more grit from Miller, especially under Gerard Gallant. I think his game will improve. We might see a little bit of Nils Lundqvist. We've seen him here in the preseason. Maybe see a little bit more of him. What's his name? Zach Jones, I think is his name. Watch out for him. He may jump into the lineup at some point this year. They've got some guys here, and I do see the Rangers improving. You look at another year here with Kakko and Lafreniere. This is a huge season for Kakko on the last year of an entry-level deal. What is he? And again, this is kind of the curse of the second overall pick. I mean, you look at Patrick and Kakko in consecutive years, and you're like, what is going on with those number 2 draft picks? But anyway, we're hoping Kako gets it together this year. The Finnish forward, really talented player. Lafreniere started to turn things around last year. There is some potential there with Lafreniere. And again, I think under a new coach here, they will improve. Again, the final year of Mika Zibanejad's contract, that may be an internal distraction. But I do, with 96 points, have the New York Rangers in the 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs. So they will be back in the playoffs. They go from missing the playoffs just barely and getting first and second overall picks in 3 consecutive years. A little bit of I'm calling BS on that one, but whatever. 96 points for the Rangers. They will make it to the postseason in 2022. So there you go. All right, so at number 3, we have an interesting situation because now you're saying, all right, well, if it's not Washington, it's not Pittsburgh, it's not New Jersey, it's not the Rangers, what do we have? Well, it's the Philadelphia Flyers, the city of brotherly love, the Philadelphia Flyers. And this is something I'm kind of waiting to see what happens here, because when you're looking at the Flyers, there's a lot of what ifs. And I'm wondering if we're going to see the Flyers. This is a huge season for them, because are we going to see Martin Jones and Carter Hart be good goalies for them, right? That's a big what if. Defense, they bring in Ryan Ellis. They bring in Keith Yandel. Are they going to be able to hold down that blue line? Again, a lot of what ifs. The only what if that I don't think there is their forward group. I think they have one of the best forward cores in this division. And that's why I have them making the playoffs in a divisional spot. I think them and the Rangers can both compete probably as the best forward cores in the league. I think they've got a lot of depth there. And I think we're going to see a lot of questionable players that maybe make the lineup at a training camp. You know, I think Wade Allison was in the conversation. He's now hurt to start the year. So there's going to be some questions about who gets in there. Probably a guy like Nicholas Aube-Kubel. We're going to see some interesting players here in Philly. And I think they get the playoffs. 97 points, 3rd in the Metropolitan Division, which is not an easy task. There you go for the Philadelphia Flyers. So now at number 2, these are the 2 teams I think there won't be a ton of question about at 1 and 2. At number 2 is my New York Islanders. Now the New York Islanders will finish with 100 points. They will just get the triple digits. And the consistency of the Islanders organization, it's hard to peg them not making the playoffs this year. Now again, it could very well happen. If enough key injuries happen and they fall off the mark from their game plan because they struggle out of the gate, that could be the reason. But the Islanders are a team that, with Anders Lee back in the lineup, this team is ready to go. Now, there is some questions because you've got Ilya Sorokin and will Semyon Varlamov be ready opening night? Because that's going to be important. That 1A, 1B option worked really well for the Islanders. Will they be able to have Varlamov ready to go to start the year? So that is a big thing. Overall, the Islanders look good. There were some questions about the defense. They bring in Zdeno Chara and Eric Gustafsson. I don't necessarily think that is the end-all, be-all. Like, oh, the Islanders will win the Stanley Cup because they have Chara and Gustafsson. Not really necessarily. But it adds depth to what they really needed. And not to mention, you still have Andy Green, Noah Dobson. We might see a little bit of Robin Salo. He looked really good so far in the preseason. So those are definitely guys to keep an eye on. And I think the Islanders, like I said, they have depth. And I think that's really important this season. We might see a little bit of Kiefer Bellows, who looked good in the game against the Devils the other day, scoring a goal. Michael Dal-Cole comes back. Yuck. Oliver Wahlstrom. Like, the Islanders have some pretty good scorers there. Can they put it together is the real question. So like I said, 100 points, 2nd in the Metropolitan Division. Now moving up to number 1, they finished. Did they finish first? I think they did. Either first or second in that Central Division last year was your Carolina Hurricanes. And they're going to finish as the number 1 team in the Metro in 2022. 102 points for the Hurricanes. There is some questions here in Carolina as well. They made a lot of changes to this team. They completely changed their goaltending. They gutted out most of those guys, bringing in Antti Ranta and Freddie Anderson. Made some big changes to the blue line, moving on from guys like Jake Bean. Now Morgan Geekie, who was good center depth, he's gone. They filled that with Jesperi Kotkaniemi. So I think the Carolina Hurricanes will be the top team in this division. But with that said, there is some questions there. Will Freddie Anderson, again, he was crucified in Toronto. Will he be able to turn that around here in Carolina? Maybe in a lesser, slower paced environment. I think that could be the best thing for him. But I think what the Carolina Hurricanes and their management and their ownership has bought into is kind of what the Islanders have with Barry Trotz and Lou Lamoriello. Is it doesn't necessarily matter who's out on the ice. The roster, yes, okay, whatever. The roster may not be full of Ovechkins and Crosbys. They do have some pretty talented players, though, in Aho and Svechnikov. But what they do have is Rod Brind'Amour. Rod Brind'Amour is that kind of coach where players want to run through a wall for, and he will get the most out of that player. So he may not be the best player in the league, but they will damn sure get the most out of him with Rod Brind'Amour behind the bench. And I think that's what the Carolina Hurricanes are banking on this season. They've had a lot of success under Brind'Amour. I think that will continue this season. So quickly to recap, we got the Blue Jackets in 8th with 79 points. The New Jersey Devils at 7 with 84 points. Again, very deep division. Just shows you that right there. And number 6, the Penguins with 86 points. They will miss the postseason. The Washington Capitals at 5 with 93 points. They also missed the playoffs. At number 4 is your Broadway blue shirt New York Rangers, 96 points. I have them back in the playoffs, just edging out the Caps. At number 3, we have the Philadelphia Flyers, 97 points. They will finish 3rd in this division. The Islanders finished 2nd with 100 points, making the playoffs home ice advantage over the Flyers. Again, a rematch from the 2020 bubble. And at number 1 in this division with 102 points is that team from Raleigh, led by Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes. So let me know what you guys think down below. Who makes the playoffs in this division? Who doesn't? And also, let me know who you think is going to be the division winner for the Metropolitan Division in 2022. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, more videos just like this one. Guys, make sure to stay tuned for the rest of my division preseason rankings. Today we did the Metro Division. We also did the Pacific Division earlier in the day. So stay tuned for the Western Conference as we wrap things up this week. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you again next time.